Anamorphic lens, a type of lens that's very popular in movie and film from 1960s to 1990s. In order to compete with TV, which is formatted in 4:3 format at that time, filmmakers began to explore the possibility of filming wider format. Filmmakers designed a type of lens that can squeeze the image into 4:3 film, and then de-squeeze it when projecting the film. It provides the audience a wider screen ratio, which is 2.35:1, and the famous skier company Panavision made the first set of anamorphic lens popular and easy to use. Blade Runner, Blowout, and more than hundreds of movies are shooting using Panavision C anamorphic lenses. As a result, a lot of people believe the look of anamorphic lens gives the video a cinematic look. Today we are going to look at a set of budget anamorphic lens from Greatjoy Optics. It has both typical characteristics and flaws of anamorphic lenses. The lens has 35mm, 50mm, 85mm with fastest aperture of t2.9. The de-squeeze ratio is 1.8. It means that we need to horizontally scratch the image by 180% to displace image correctly in the post. The testing image is shooting using A7M4 with the ratio of 16:9 ratio. After de-squeeze, the screen become almost 3.186:1. Normally, people want to film 2.35:1 or 2.39:1, which is typical anamorphic format on screen. And for this, we need to crop a lot of image on both sides. Let's test the lens. Start from 85mm t2.9. The overall sharpness is decent, which is surprising. When we push the image out of focus, we can see the focus area felt being vertically scratched, and the bokeh become an oval shape. That's one of the characteristics of the anamorphic lens. Why? Because the de-squeeze ratio at the out of focus area is different than in focus area. As a result, the out of focus area is still actually squeezed, so the bokeh is oval. The another test is the flare test. Anamorphic, as we see, have this horizontal flare. We can see this lens provide a blue lens flare. When we crop the aperture down by 1 stop to t4, we can see the autofocus area become more standard. Starburst flare appears. This lens, according to its manufacturer description, it has 11 iris blade, so I assume it have a 22 blade starburst flare. Can't see it very clear in this aperture, but when we stop it down to t5.6, the flare and the starburst flare become more obvious and more beautiful. Then let's look at this 50mm t2.8 lenses. The 50mm has a significant vignette and distortion. The distortion is also a characteristic of a lot of common anamorphic lens, but once we crop it to 2.35:1 ratio, we will still see less flaw of this lens. The lens become wider, the bokeh become less round and less oval, turns into an almost triangular oval, and the flare is also more obvious than 85mm. When we stop down to t4, the starburst is more obvious than 85mm as well. Stop down to t5.6, the bokeh shape become much more round, and it shows less of our anamorphic characteristics. The flare of t5.6 of this lens is very amazing, and I believe it looks very close to the actual old Panavision lens flare. Let's turn to this 35 anamorphic. In my opinion, this lens have the worst quality among all this set of lens. First, the sharpness is very bad compared to other lens. We can see visible green and purple chromatic aberration everywhere, and the lens have severe vignette, and the overall shape of our bokeh is also kind of terrible. The distortion is visible as well, but however, when we stop down to t4, the overall sharpness become much more better and much more usable. From these three lenses, we can see the flare is almost uniform, but the autofocus area have different characteristics. In conclusion, it's a very standard look anamorphic, does not have super characteristic look, but still gives basic anamorphic characteristics. It provides experience for users over the anamorphic workflow, including how to de-squeeze it, how to work with the monitor when we film with it using digital camera.